I'm just... I'll tell you. Yes. Yeah, I'm ready.
Hi you guys, what's going on? It's Huggable Hipster and the Rissa. I'm pointing in the wrong direction for the camera. Rissa Raves over here. How are you guys doing
Hello,
today?
hello.
Welcome to our humble abode, our dungeon, our sex tower.
Our a sex tower. We've evolved. What?
We've evolved from a dungeon to a tower to a loft to a ship liner.
It's wait a minute. We've gone on a weird roller coaster trajectory here. Hey Shay.
Oh my goodness gracious! So today we are discussing the psychology of vampires. Now, before we get into the psychology madness of everything, we're gonna do a little bit of a recap just so you guys know where we were before for the first podcast that we did on Vampire the Masquerade. And Riska's gonna take us over to that because, hello, she's the expert over here, and I'm the noob in this instance, okay? And I am
The
literally like,
expert. I'm trying. I'm trying my best. But
it's one of those things
so
of
the
where, like,
last
whenever you were talking about it before, I felt like I was listening to a lecture from a professor. So, just put that out there. Okay.
you know what? I just love vampires. That's all. That's all that
It doesn't.
is. Um, but yes, so Vampire the Masquerade is a tabletop RPG. in which you can play a vampire. There are hey Chase. Sorry.
Hey,
People pop
Normie.
in my chat. Hey guys.
Yeah, no, just if we say like hi to people periodically, we're not like abandoning conversation.
Yeah.
We're literally just trying to like interact with chat. So, oh, hey Nora,
Yes,
what's
I
going on?
promise you.
Welcome to the stream.
I'm not being an asshole. Right, so just loving vampires, fucking TTRPGs, you get to play a fucking vampire. And get to tell stories with your friends. That's essentially what Vampire the Masquerade is. Yeah, Chase heard vampires, he came running. So today, as we discuss the psychology of vampires, I think it's fair to say that with Vampire the Masquerade, it's essentially a chance to tell stories that are both that they are essentially human, you know, the human condition. But you get to talk about things like your fears and things that excite you, things that make you angry, and you get to go through all those emotions and that experience as this supernatural creature, which I think in a way creates this like little bit of a defense against things that can really be rather traumatizing. And to segue into our topic today, I think that the lore or the mythos of vampires really stems from humans trying to understand things like death, at a time where they did not have much to be able to do so.
No, not at all.
You know. So yes, I think that's a good
little
good
train
segue.
segue off of there. Yeah, no, absolutely. Listen, job well done. Okay, I appreciate you. Just playing League. We'll be back periodically. Okay, Normie sounds good. Have fun with League. That sounds fun. I've never played League before, so I don't know if it's fun or if it's a headache or
Don't
what
bother.
it is.
Don't bother playing League.
Oh,
It is
no.
so listen. The community is so toxic. The game itself isn't bad, but the community is so toxic. I have Wild Rift on my phone. It's the mobile version, which is a lot better because you don't have to see the chat and like don't have to interact with anybody. You can just play the game.
That's the
So it's a
tea.
lot more fun. But yeah, there's a lot going on with the League of Legends game.
Oh,
However, if you want to get into the lore of League of Legends, we could talk about that.
That
another day.
lore is amazing. I saw one of your live streams of where you were discussing the trailers and stuff. The way that it's come so far in the trailers, please. It's so wholesome. Oh my gosh.
Yes, the animation is incredible. I love it. The Amumu trailer is probably still my favorite.
That one is very good.
It's so good. I'm super into it. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Bojangles is like, don't play League. Ever. The lore is amazing, but don't play League.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's other games that are a part of the League of Legends franchise that you can play that are fun. Like Teamfight Tactics and Legends of Runeterra, which is like a digital card game.
Right.
But the fun thing about the Legends of Runeterra is that everything you see in there is canon in the lore.
Oh, okay. That's see, I like that they did that. So this is gonna come out very cocky, you guys. I don't mean it like this, but I use this as a reference because I wrote about this in college. I know about this. I spent over a year writing a thesis on this. So if I'm going to discuss it and share and impart knowledge, I'm going to do so. So for anybody or any psychologist who sees this, listen, I'm using this bad boy, okay? I'm going to be publishing this.
I did the thing.
Calm your tits, okay? Because I know there is some...
I did the thing, don't come for me. That's
Exactly.
what she's saying. I
Exactly.
did the thing, don't come for me.
There are some psychologists who do game reviews and stuff like that, and they take more of an actual, like, literal approach, not more of, like, a philosophical approach. So, I feel like it's very important to state that these are not real. It may have been real for cultures several years ago who did not understand science, who did not understand the precedents in the times of which we live, which I'll explain the science behind it in a little bit. But there's just so much going on with it. So calm thy tits before anything, okay? Okay, thank you. That's hot.
Don't come for her in the comments or else I'm going to come for you, okay?
She said what she said.
Right now.
She said what she said.
I will
bitch.
come for you, okay?
And I will come for anybody who likes Dr. Pepper.
Don't. I like Dr. We're not doing this. We're not doing this again. Okay. We're talking about vampires.
No, we'll just have one stream entirely dedicated to Huggable Hipster's hatred for Dr. Pepper.
I can't be a part of that. I'm sorry. I can't be a part of that stream because we're just gonna fight.
Throw in these hands. Okay.
Hands are ready to be for everyone.
Oh, man. So this, oh boy, I'm looking at the date that I submitted this. 125.
How old is it?
125, 2016.
Oh, girl, we're old. We're getting old. We're getting old, mama. Okay.
Okay, so entitled, this thesis was called Walking with Dead People, which my instructor was just like, were you a goth in high school? Yes, I was. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm gonna go into the first paragraph. The thing is that you guys gotta remember, vampires were very influential during the times, especially like during the Black Plague, because there were so many people who thought, oh yeah, no, vampires are the cause of this, vampires are the cause of that, witches are the cause of this. People like to blame a lot of things on things they can't explain, more so than science, because they didn't have scientific facts back then. So
Thank you for the follow.
going into like the science of it, why were a lot of people so afraid to say that, oh, we don't know? Because there always had to be an explanation for something. Example, why was there blood around the mouth of a corpse, for example? You know, like, why was there receding hairlines, receding fingernails, looking like straight up Nosferatu? Okay, this is where the inspiration... This is where the inspiration came from. This is where it came from, pure science. Because whenever you go into the vampire lore, people thought that, oh, these corpses are getting up from the grave. When in reality, scientifically, whenever you're dead, everything just either bloats up tremendously and then shrinks down, or recedes. You get a receding hairline, poor bastard, and you get the receding gum lines and everything like that, which make the teeth look longer, in an essence. So then you have the bloating issue of where gases after post-mortem will build up in the esophageal lining, and it'll build up in the abdominal, just this entire area, abdominal area, everything. Yeah. And if you literally will press on like a corpse's stomach, not to get morbid, but if you press on it, literally you will hear something that sounds like a belch when really it's a gurgling sound of gases and fluids. It's like, it's like.
Oh, I mean, I guess trigger warning. I don't know. If death freaks you out, dude, this might not be the stream for you.
You know what? Yeah, I totally forgot to put trigger warning, but trigger warning, if death freaks you out, then just wait a couple of minutes. But yeah, that's why people were so scared, because they had no explanation for the science that was right in front of them. How could they? I mean, I don't blame them. You know, if I was, a wash maiden back in that day, I would have thought, oh dear, this isn't godly. Grab my linens and cloaks. Like, this is no. This is going in a very new direction.
To all the former wash maidens, we're so sorry.
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Listen,
you are more than the clothes you wash, I promise.
None of it when they went through the Black Plague, okay? Seriously.
That's fair.
So, during the first look at this, okay, I have to say this is not so much of a nerdy term, because people are going to be like, what the fuck is she saying?
I mean, be a nerd. It's fine.
Yeah. So, going through this, to read this verbatim, a Jungian look into the rise of vampire subculture, at least as old as the oldest existing religion on the planet. The myth of vampires is remarkable for its endurance through the millennia, and is adaptable across cultures, and its uncanny ability to titillate with fresh parts of fear, delight, and fantasy of each passing generation. Boasting a presence of 6 of the 7 continents, only in its Antarctic lack of indigenous peoples render it immune from some form of vampire mythology, which we never see any form of vampire mythos in the Antarctic region. You would think they would like it because it's so fucking there. Cold.
There's nobody fucking there.
No. And the thing is that, like, it started somewhat 2,000 years ago. And what people don't realize is how old vampire lore actually is. It started in Prussia, what we know as Prussia today, with a prince. Mm-hmm. And it started all through there, and then it spanned out through places like Transylvania, Slovakia, all these different, continents and places in Europe. It started primarily in Europe and then seeded out through the rest. And then you have an evolution of vampirism of where it turns into this pop culture BS of where people don't even know the nascence of where the actual term vampire came from. So, by the way, at any time, if you have, input anyone to stop me, go for it. So.
Well, I will say this, right? So, in Latin cultures, we have sort of a version of vampires as well. It's really, it feels more zombie to me. But there is a version of essentially a blood drinking parasite in Latin countries as well. So it eventually makes its way over there too. It's primarily, so you say that kind of started or really became prevalent 2,000 years ago. To me, the irony of that is that's sort of around when Christianity began to bloom.
And the thing is that like people don't even realize that it started in Prussia. What people like the historical thing of where it says in like all the books and papers that started in India, some 2,000 years BCE. And that's where that's where you get a lot of the lore and the mythos from. But then you look at other places and it's recorded that it was in Prussia. A lot of other places are recorded until Transylvanian incidents occur. When these incidents, I mean, people are literally like falling from their rooftops and they accredit it to vampirism, to a vampire pushing them off. I'm like,
I love that.
First of all, no.
I love that. I love the drama of that.
You think there were Gen Zers are drama? Oh my gosh.
I love the drama of people getting pushed off of buildings and like vampires.
Yes. Oh no, wait, push off a building? Oh, it's Kim Kardashian. Damn it.
You every time. Every time with this bitch.
Oh man.
Okay,
Vampires are just vampires are just more annoying mosquitoes, Peter.
That's fair. That's also very fair.
That.
I mean,
I love that. Also, hi Peter, welcome to the stream, dude.
Hi Peter from all the way over here.
And also, there is the legend. You're gonna laugh at this, but this actually is factually true. They made several terrible horror movies on it. It's called The Hopping Vampire from China. And there's a case of where the feet and hands would be bound at death. That way they couldn't do anything. And there would be a piece of paper that would be plastered over the face. If it were a red piece of paper, I think that would, if I remember correctly, that they passed on to the undead world. And the only way that they could move out of the grave, hop, 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 hop. And that's what it was.
Glamorous.
And they would be dressed in all the traditional Chinese garb, everything, and then you just hear the stories of, oh, this person hopped out of their grave. I'm like, okay, that's great.
I love this.
This is great.
I love this so much. Amazing.
So, going into more of the thesis, Joseph Campbell suggests that it is the very nature of mythology to evolve as humankind and civilization advantage. Archetypes and images of mythology evolve to meet society's need for an internal understanding of their existential environment. Which is true. We want to be able to explain.
It is so true.
We want to explain the things that are understandable. So whenever we see, like, a man got pushed off a roof, vampire, man got poisoned, oh, this had to have been a vampire. Oh my god, terrible outfit. Vampire, pick that bitch out, okay? Listen.
I love the trajectory you've created there. Pushed off a building, vampire. Poison, vampire. Bad outfit, vampire. I'll have you know, though, vampires are fabulous, okay?
Listen, if you only had a musty-ass piece of clothing for the Black Plague to wear, it wouldn't be so fabulous, now would it? Just to blend in with society?
Chase said, where do all these gay theatrics come from? Vampires. And that's true. Vampires are gay icons.
Vampires. I mean, it's true. Where do you get some of the best operatics? Vampires. Okay. Madam Butterfly? Vampire. Okay. The hopping vampire is something I think everyone should hear in their lifetime. It's true. When I was doing research for this thesis, I didn't
Yes.
know that all of this was actually factual. I thought that it was made up in lore and stuff like that. But when you look at it, there's even a video game, Blood Rain. There would be people who were supposedly turned back in the day to make them kind of willing female slaves. Kind of like how we see sparrows in Russia. It would be the same thing in different cultures for vampires. So, so you would have like
That's
different
fun.
people being turned. Yeah, chaos. Oh, fun, chaotic. It's a fun
I
time.
love that. That chaotic energy. Vampires.
It's gonna be the theme of the stream right now. Okay.
Listen, I'm about to just go around, and anytime something happens, just immediately,
Vampires.
It's vampires. Vampires.
So to continue on, it's so weird. Can I just say that it's so weird reading this thesis again? Like, I mean, I didn't realize, like, not to be cocky for a second, but this is actually kind of this is actually kind of good.
Be cocky.
This is actually kind of good.
Yes, ma'am.
Like,
Duh.
I did the thing. 36
in the
pages
work.
later. 36 pages
Yes,
later.
you put in the work. You put in the work. Be cocky. It's good. Go ahead.
This thing is good. Okay. So, so this study proposes first to demonstrate how the legend of the vampire has been used across a multitude of cultures to enforce cultural, religious, social, and familial values, which is very important because what the vampire does over a course of time, be it through movies, through television, through lore, whatever it is, it strips the familial values away so that all you're left with is this kind of idea that, oh no, this person got turned, this person has to be with this vampire. It can't be with the family anymore.
Oh yeah, it's very so like vampires are basically like okay. We're gonna get into this real quick.
Yeah.
So, at least with the Christian church, right? The whole process of, you know, you have to eat the cracker and drink the wine thing.
Yeah.
Of, you know, his body, his blood, right?
Yeah.
Vampires are essentially that as well. They're like a perversion of that process.
Yeah.
And so them drinking whose ever blood is a perversion of the
Exactly.
Christian drink the blood of Christ, you know.
Yeah.
And then I guess zombies or eat the body. I don't know.
Well, it's funny with the zombies. It's actually really interesting. I did some research on it for the lore because them and vampires actually link quite harmoniously at times because with vampires you can never go back home, but with a zombie back in the day it used to be of where in order to turn a zombie fully you had the process of that, and then to make the full transformation you had to bring them back to their home so they would forget. And that I find fascinating. You had to actually walk them past their house and have them look at it, and then that's it. They would just like instantly become a zombie there because they would forget, and it kind of like seals the deal to an extent.
That's interesting.
So-
See, I've never looked into zombies like that. So, in culturally for me, in Latin, I can't speak for all Latin countries, but in Puerto Rico specifically. So, like the idea of zombies is really that either witches were involved, right? Some
Yeah.
sort of, you know, dark magic, you know, devil work was done, and that's zombies, right?
Yeah.
Or it's it kind of goes similar with the idea of ghosts of like unfinished business, something going wrong during death, in which they rise, but they rise without consciousness. And then of course the need for flesh and all that shit. But it being involved with like dark magic and some sort of witch practice is usually the kind of reason for zombies. So
Yeah, exactly. Bojangles says, damn, completely forgot about the Blood Rain series. The movies are so bad. The movies are so bad that they're
There's
good.
movies?
There's 2 movies that were made for Blood Rain. Actually, I don't count the other ones because those were kind of like... I'm just going to say it. They were borderline pornos, okay? Borderline. Because you literally see, like, just... You see...
I mean, work.
Literally.
Work. Hold on. So vampires have overlap with ghosts, werewolves, and zombies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're all very similar, and I think really those ideals or those creatures that were created by men were really just humans trying to understand the world around them. Joseph Campbell is a really great author who writes essentially, I mean, he writes a lot about religion and its purpose for cultures, but you can kind of apply the same things to these supernatural entities.
Right.
And creatures is there's a need for monsters because it helps people survive. If they think there's a, vampire, werewolf, ghost, whatever, in the woods or in a particular house that's like about to collapse in on itself or whatever, right? It keeps people from going out into the unknown and getting hurt if they believe there's a monster out there.
That actually links well with the movie The Village, where they proclaimed that there was... Movie. It's a classic. It's just, oh my gosh. Joaquin Phoenix, hello, a living legend.
The man can act his ass off, yes. But yeah, so the idea of vampires and all that really comes from people trying to protect their communities from the world that they didn't understand.
Yeah, and that's the thing too of where, like, it's in every culture. Every culture there is that level of protection. I go into saying to advance this thesis, I'll briefly examine the myths of the vampire and its function in India, Asia, Judaic, European, and American cultures. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Whenever, because you have Buddhist, you have Buddhist cultures that go into it too. You have Chinese cultures. You have just so many different cultures that rely on this kind of scapegoat, if you will. Demonstrating not only global vibrancy of this myth, but also to showcase the striking cross-cultural aspects of the legend. Moving from ancient renditions of the vampire, the study will then explore modern and contemporary examples of the myth, like, Twilight. Listen, I can't with Twilight anymore. I used to be a Team Edward. I can't with his ass. Robert Pattinson. He left, okay? He left. Bitch ass.
Listen.
Okay, I can't.
We don't need to get into Team Edward or Team Jacob situation over here, okay?
Listen, Edward, can I just point out how, like, just the psychopathy of it all? Because whenever he is, like, says in the book, I went into your house and I got your keys for you and I parked your car in front of the school. What's this BS?
We're gonna take a brief pause here and talk about.
God.
This man fully says to her, straight face says to this woman, "I like watching you sleep." If anybody, there's so much to unpack. There is. It's completely completely problematic. But the idea that this man says to a woman, "I like to watch you sleep." If any person tells you they like to watch you sleep, be a little concerned. Be a little worried. Okay?
Peter says, "Is Twilight not realistic then?" No.
Is Twilight not okay, first off.
No, it's not.
Guys.
It's not realistic. That is an abusive relationship. It's not realistic at all. That is that.
Oh no, Chase.
Look, you need to sit down and have a chat with your people. I'll make a note of it. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so the reason why he says that is because he's one of the storytellers for the Vampire Masquerade game that I play. And his character is very much someone who would say, "I like watching you sleep." So I'm really concerned.
The character arc, we see it evolve. I like this. So this is where it gets kind of like, gets spicy over here.
Spicy, we like spicy.
In the subtext of where I wrote this out, which, by the way, in order to, have the citation for this, is 2 pages on its own. Frick that, okay? Citation, literally, I had to go all the way to Manhattan at one point to find one of the books I was looking for in the New York Public Library because they did not have it in New Jersey.
I love that. Yes,
Because
I
be-
love the investigative journalist in
and you
you.
know what it is though, is that it made me kind of concerned and make me want to go all like Nancy Drew and shit, because they were handling these books with gloves and they wouldn't let me turn the pages. They had to turn the pages.
Oh, were they that old? Were they that old?
They were that old. They were from the
Wow.
1700s and 1600s.
Oh,
Like they
well,
had
yeah, because the oils in your skin would fuck up the pages because
Yeah.
I can't speak
Disintegrate.
Right now. Yeah. Thank
that,
you.
that word.
Like, what is
Yeah.
the word I'm looking for?
It's just like,
I don't know.
it's weird because it's like you literally, it was like something out of a spy movie. I felt like I was like Indiana Jones and I was like there reading the books and there was like a guy in a suit and white gloves who was like, turn the page. I was like, yes, please. I was like, okay. I was like, okay, thank you.
Thank God for the internet. You know what I mean? You don't have to go into the.
Actually,
into
no,
the-
some books they told me they specifically are keeping off of the internet. They could have it there for archival purposes, but they don't want it there.
Weird.
Yep.
Weird.
Yeah.
That's sus.
Yeah.
Sus. I'm
I know.
calling sus.
Oh, Andrew commented. He is can't stay. I'm at work. Just wanted to send you both good vibes and Irish blessings for fun stream. See you later. Oh, have a wonderful rest of your day, Andrew. Thank you so much for the
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Thank you. You're so sweet. So, I go into stating here that in the earliest manifestations of the vampire myth, most vampires are not human derivatives pictured today. Rather, these earliest versions were supernatural creatures created by more powerful supernatural beings. That's to prelude, like, the power of the mind is something that's very heavy, because most people, like, the witchcraft and practices in tarot started around the same time. So divination was very, very strong whenever the whole concept of the vampire was brought about. The earliest writings and depictions of the subject can be found in Mesopotamia and ancient Hinduism. The fiercest of these demons is the Rakshakas, and this was known as one of the earliest versions of the vampire. So,
Right.
yeah.
Cool.
And it goes into so much stuff where, like, India did not have one vampire myth, rather several. Same with Ireland, same with Buddhism, same with Judaism, same with all these different cultures. It was not just one myth. There were several ones for different generations that were growing up. So
I wonder why. I wonder if that's why in Vampire the Masquerade there's all those different clans. If that's why they kind of, because there's so many vampire myths that they're trying to like account for.
yeah. Now I'm kind of skipping around to certain points because this has psychological jargon and lingo that I'm not.
That's fine.
It's going to be more of a headache to try to explain it than anything, because you go into like
Okay.
post-mortem psychopathy and it's. Yeah, that's going to be a headache. So, you have the earliest human versions of the vampire myths found in epic Sumerian poem Gilgamesh, written about 2000 BCE. The poem introduces Ikumu. And Ikumu, the departed spirit, was the soul of a dead person who for some reason could find no rest and wandered over the earth. This is where ghosts and vampires kind of merge together in a sense. Ikumu could walk through doors, walls, take up residence in a house, and would then drain the life from the household, usually killing the owner and many of its residents and servants. So this is referencing so many different cultures and everything.
I love that.
For anybody who wants to read about the articles that I talk about in here, let me know and I can post that down in the description. That way you guys get a better idea of the research that I did for this thesis. Because all the articles listed inside the thing. Jesus Christ, this is a beefy boy. How are we gonna do this? I have all them listed at the end. Let's see. Hold on one second. If I still have this. Oh, yes, I do. Oh, God. Is it weird that, like, once you see something, it instantly takes you back to when you were there?
No, that's the thing.
The entire 2 pages of citations. Only citations, these 2 pages. That's it.
I love it.
That's
Yes.
That's it. Where do I want to go next? Oh, here it is. Okay, so there's also one in Chinese culture that you guys might find actually really interesting, of where in the popular Chinese mythology, Xingxi or Kangxi was known as Jiganxi, sometimes called the hopping corpse or the hopping vampire.
Oh, that's what you were talking about before, yeah.
Yeah, so to expand on that, it's called the Chinese vampires by Westerners are reanimated corpses that hop around killing living creatures to absorb quintessence or life force energy. Mental energy, also known as psychic vampires today. Which a lot of people, it's interesting because you see like a lot of the nightclubs that are in Brooklyn that are vampire nightclubs, and they're like, well, I'm a psychic vampire. And I'm just like, no, you're not. It's like, no, you're not, bitch. You're just drinking a blood martini over here. Calm yourself.
Oh my god, amazing.
No, because there are so many different stereotypes that go into, like, when you go into one of those bars, which I think you might, because, like, we've experienced our fair share of, like, different kinds of bars and everything like that in the New York area. And you have, like, the psychic vampire one who's basically a tree hugger. You have the other types of... It's so true. You have the other types who proclaim to be, like, bloodsuckers who are just like, I'm a bloodsucker. I'm like Lestat.
Is that how they do it?
Is
that
that
the voice?
They walk in all like macho with a choker and studs, and they think that they're everything. Like, calm yourself.
Yes.
And then
have.
yeah. And then there's the other one that literally just sits in a corner and stares at people walking in.
Oh, so you have
Like-
the creep.
Yes.
Is that the real life clans?
That's it. the creep,
Tree hugger.
the creep, and the
the
macho,
tough guy,
the tank.
and then the emo in the corner. Is that the clan?
Yeah,
I feel like
exactly. And then you got the bartender with one eye that says, "What's your business here?"
I want to know that guy's story. How do you decide?
My eyeball got taken from me in the V-Day War, and then everything went to shit.
This is supposed to be a very serious.
Nothing is ever serious with us, though. It's perfect.
Oh my god, this is supposed to be very serious,
Oh, man.
scientific.
So,
Instead, we're making jokes about one-eyed vampires. Amazing.
listen, you can bring that to the Vampire Masquerade group that you're a part of, the one-eyed
Yes.
vampire.
That's it. That's my next character. My next character is gonna has one eye,
Little,
and a bartender.
yeah, and only making blood martinis because that's the only drink they know how to make.
Oh yes, there you go. Done. Perfect. That's it.
So-
Vampire made.
So to get back, sorry you guys. So to get back into another source for the hopping vampires, because there's more than one source. Like I said, there's more than one myth for everything, and a supposed source of the Jiganxi stories came from practices of transporting a corpse over 1,000 li. Now the li. Some instances it refers to money, it refers to a threshold, it refers to something like that. What some of you do not know is that I do speak a little bit of Mandarin from my childhood, learning it. So whenever I was looking at some of these sources, and whenever people were like trying to pronounce their names, I'm just like, I'm going to butcher this, so just bear with me. Because they have different instances of where the relatives of the person who died far away from the home could not afford vehicles and have to and had the deceased person's body transported from the home to a burial. So they would hire a Taoist priest to conduct the ritual to reanimate the dead person and teach him or her to hop their way home. And it's still funny to hear that it's a hopping vampire, but it's like,
funny,
it's wholesome.
but also a little sad.
Yeah.
That's a little sad.
Yeah. And the priests would then transport the corpses only at night and would ring bells to notify others in the vicinity of their presence, because it was considered bad luck for a living person to set eyes upon the Jiganqi. The practice also called Jiaoxing Hanqi, or the driving corpses. So,
Oh, interesting.
yeah. And while the Chinese versions of the vampire myth seem relatively innocuous at first, these vampires have 6 levels of development. Now, you can go through and you can compare the life cycle of a vampire to the beginning of childbirth, where you have 9 months of development. These have levels to how they become a vampire, through which they can evolve to a level of godlike powers with equal of that of any other god. So the evolution takes place over many hundreds of years, requiring equal parts of patience and human blood. Once again, most importantly here, it can be observed that the creation of the Hopper is a result of human activity, a violent death, suicide, or neglected burial. This also is in comparison to wraiths, who are once maidens who were supposed to be married, then died on their wedding night. So it's kind of comparative to that in a way.
Okay.
So you have other things here that, you know, it's the repeating cause-effect relationship of bad, you know, was it of a bad death or neglectful burial, is placing the myth of vampires squarely on the human realm, until the Catholic Church takes over the vampire mythology in Europe in the second millennia. This is very important to note. The Catholic Church took over the myth of the vampire.
As they do everything, okay? As they fucking do everything.
So it wasn't pure anymore. There was no more of like a purist value to what the myth actually was. I'll say it one more time so you guys actually get it. Until the Catholic Church takes over the vampire mythology in Europe in the second millennial, these Taoists, priests in China, are only institutional source for vampire control mechanism in the entire world. So
okay, so the Taoist priests and how they approached the idea of vampire, right? Was one thing. The church took over, and is the church how we get steaks and garlic, and they need permission to enter, all that type of stuff, right?
All of that. And it was also because of westernized lore, because of movies and Hollywood back in the 1920s and 30s that created all of what we know today.
Interesting.
But then we take a complete 360 and we go over to Mesopotamia, of where in 2 versions of the Genesis, Adam's first wife was created not from the rib of Adam, which is where we get Lilith, goes right back to where we were going before, but from, it says here for like the Bible, from dust, as was Adam, Gen 1:25-27. Later in Judaic traditional lore, the first wife was called Lilith and mentioned by name in Isaiah 24:14, derived of the word Lila, Hebrew word for night. So what do you say whenever we go to bed at night in Hebrew? Laila tov. That's how you say goodnight. Yeah, that's how you say goodnight. Wow. So anytime my dad's going to sleep, I'll be like, oh, Laila tov. Laila tov, shalom, Laila tov. So that's how you have that derivative word, because it's from Lilith. And I think that is just so cool. We're just appreciating that how every single day, okay? I love Lilith. She's amazing.
We do love Lilith in this house.
Yeah. Hebrew for night, Lilith takes on the emotional and spiritual aspects of darkness, terror, sensuality. Roughly 1,000 years later, a Jewish tale emerges in which Lilith, after incessant quarreling with Adam, runs away, ultimately becoming a demon. Now, that links back to exactly the story that we were saying about Vampire the Masquerade, of her entire story of self-revenge and trying to get her just desserts. Or until recently I found out that it wasn't just deserves and I was saying it wrong, so.
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, to be honest with you guys,
still the same.
who says just desserts? Like, I'm sorry, whose desserts am I taking?
I don't know. English is fucking hard. I don't know.
Which is just weird.
We do stand a queen. Yes, we do.
Yes. So you also have the Zohar, which it goes into like more of a mystical aspect of what I discussed. The mystical work from the 12th century in Spain images Lilith not only as the first wife of Adam, but also as the wife of Satan. In the Kabbalah, Lilith takes on a cosmic power. She is a chaotic counterpart of the Shekinah, the feminine divine presence, the bride of the infinite. The fact that Zohar imagines that while the Jews suffer in exile, the Holy One, the masculine aspect of the divine, if you will, separates the Shekinah and the consorts with the Lilith. Lilith's sexual separation in link with the divine only ends when the Messiah comes and the brokenness of the world is mended. So it has more of a spiritual, philosophical aspect to it that you can go into. And we're going to go into...
I wonder if that's where the sort of the sort of sexual / romanticized version of vampires comes from.
I wonder too, to be completely honest. You know? Because that has Lilith has so much sexual tension within this story that it's really, there's so much to unpack there. You could do an entire thesis on that.
No, well, I would say this, right, is that at least we know from the Christian church, right? Sex is bad.
Yeah, make room for Jesus.
So they wanted to blame somebody for sexual urges, and so they blamed Lilith.
Yeah.
And so the idea of vampires kind of being, you know, the forbidden in that realm, you know, makes sense to me.
And you know, have you ever had, like, been in those school dances of where they're just like, oh, you gotta leave a little bit of room for Jesus over there, you know?
Oh, you have to leave a little bit of room for Jesus. I have not heard that phrase.
At school dances.
Forever!
I was,
You
like,
have to leave
14 or 15. We actually, okay, so funny story. We actually went to, like, a high school not too far apart from one another, and whenever we became friends, we found this out, and we're just like, what?
Yes.
What? Literally.
Small world.
It literally is. So whenever we were at, like, school, when I was at my homecoming dance, I literally had a teacher come up to me, and I was dancing with, like, one of my female friends at the time, and they were like, you gotta leave a little bit of room for Jesus, honey.
You have to. The fact that yes, Lilith gave birth to succubus. Yes, she did. That's my mom. No, anyway, yes, I haven't heard that phrase in a very long time. But
Jeez, no, I gotta leave a little bit of room for Satan.
hey, hail Satan.
Yeah. Listen, Satan, by the way, you know what? Borderline Satanists over here, they're not bad people, okay? They're actually the people who are trying to change everything in the world, alright? Calm your tits.
Yes, second that.
So, to go into more of the psyche, I'm starting to lose my voice, actually.
That's fine, girl.
To go into...
Water with you? Or something to drink?
No, I have my coffee with me, which, actually, by the way, the first coffee.
How cute. Yes, I love that mug so much.
Oh my goodness gracious. No, actually the woman, when I was there getting that mug, she rung me up and she was like, you have over 14,000 points. You must shop here a lot. I'm like, thanks.
Yes.
Thanks, yeah.
Hold on a second. Okay. The church and other cultures want to own sexuality, so the vampire mythos and others became parables. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, you know, sex is bad.
Yeah. It's stinky. Okay, so to go more
room for Jesus, you guys.
That sounded so Kim Kardashian. It's like, make room for Jesus, you guys. That's hot.
I can't.
Wait a second. Like,
Let's talk about vampires. Let's.
okay.
Oh, don't. Please.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Flip the computer.
Oh my god.
Amazing.
Oh boy, Kim Kardashian, you are one imitatable hoe. Let me tell you that.
Yes. Okay, go
Okay,
ahead.
so dive into the psychology of more of like the psyche of vampires. Jung,
Yeah.
who is a psychologist, the human psyche shares a collective universal images and motifs, which from the collective unconsciousness, which is actually from Stevens' 1990, the characterizations or archetypes usually originate from emotion or event that is central to psychology of all humans. This is how Jung explains the presence of the same myths throughout history, and the instance of vampire myth provides a highly credible explanation. So there are some psychologists that even think that vampires might actually be real, but it's in terms of the mythos that was provided back in the day. So it's like saying, yes, this was real for them psychologically at the time because they made it real.
No, that's fair.
You know?
Yeah, that's fair.
So it goes
Yeah.
into saying that, like, whenever, let's say, for example, like, this could be really stupid, but, you know, you had one really great tasting peach, and then another generation comes along and has the same seeds from the same peach, and it tastes completely different. So it's the same thing as that. What might be true for one generation is not going to be true for the next. So
Right.
you have to look at it that way. This archetypal...
Evolution.
Yeah, exactly. So this archetypal explanation of the vampire myth also withstands the cultural variations of the vampire myth. While these are countless variations of the myth in terms of vampires' origins, powers, weakness, all that kind of stuff, the results of society in which the variations are created all share common factors which form the psychological archetype, the unhuman creature that feeds on the life force of humans, is what it boils down to. So.
Yes.
And then,
Because humans are tasty.
because, ma'am, this is not D&D right now, okay?
Oh my god, guys! I'm like really tired, and so that's why I'm so wildly
Oh
giggling
boy,
right
she's
now.
wilded out here tonight.
Forgive, forgive me.
I love that. That's gonna be my new ringtone because humans are tasty.
Humans are tasty.
So, get nasty. Let's continue. I love that though.
Amazing.
Please
Go ahead.
send goodwill in the comment section.
Send goodwill, yes. Send me
Oh,
energy and goodwill.
So, I go into saying in the next page, which, hold on a second, let me double check where this section was. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay, so we're going to skip ahead a little bit because I kind of reiterate some things that I've discussed before. We're going to go into burial traditions now. Okay, kids?
Ooh, burial traditions. Let's get into it.
Now, because vampires were largely associated with burial traditions, the legends have held that that a loose association with religion down throughout history worldwide. It's because, like we said before, the Catholic Church took that shit over and kind of turned it into a hodgepodge. It was previously mentioned that the Taoist priests could control vampires by writing Taoist prayers and placing them on the forehead. These are these papers that I talked about before, of where they would place the paper on the head, and it would either control or do something to like the vampire in a way that it would kind of just control them. The Catholic Church, however, was not just another religious institution, and rather it was ruling a government force in Europe, holding sway over peasant, lord, and king. It would have been completely within the power of such an overarching institution, to easily eradicate a legend. So let's say, for example, we go into Viking lore and we see their burial traditions of where you have the pyres, where you have certain, depending on like your stature in the group that you were in, you would have maidens buried with you. You would have your dog buried with you. You would have different people who you loved, who either they probably weren't dead at the time, they would just sacrifice themselves, or they would be passed on. That way they could be with you in that afterlife. So in this instance, there were certain traditions that were not touched. Viking traditions were really not touched by lore, but there was something about the vampire tradition and the vampire rule that had to have been controlled for some reasons that are unknown. So you have to wonder why.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about the Catholic Church, right, it is all about control, and if you control every aspect of a person's belief system and their life, I mean, you have total control over the person.
Right, exactly.
You know? I mean, even in ways that the Catholic Church converted pagans into the religion. The idea of Easter, right? Easter's not is not originally a Christian thing. It is a pagan thing.
Yeah.
To which, you know, they found pagans who celebrated during this time, celebrating, you know, spring, rebirth, all that. The name Easter comes from Ishtar, who is she's a goddess of fertility. But they were pretty much, they saw the pagans doing this worship, and they were like, oh yeah, we have a holiday like that too. It's called Easter, and we celebrate the rising of Christ. Don't worry about it. Come on over. I mean, it was a lot more violent than how I'm saying, but that's part of it, of sort of making the transition from pagan to Christian easier, was to adopt their various forms of worship and twist it so that it fit to the Christian ideology. And so it makes sense to me that also applied to funeral rites and various things with the dead as well.
Yeah, and it's a sad thing because it's like every culture should have the right to bury their dead the way they see fit. That's just should be a common thing, you know? Like there's this whole thing of where
But if
like
you want everybody to worship God, then you
like,
can't let them do what they want.
yeah, exactly. And the thing is like there's even laws trying to be passed for natural decomposition. I don't know. Again, trigger warning if you guys are uncomfortable with death, you know. Just, you know, FYI, a little bit of a discussion of it. Technically, this entire podcast is talking about the undead, so, you know. But,
So if you have a problem.
yeah, just fair warning. There's a law that was trying to get passed in California, actually, for natural decomposition of the body. What would happen back in the day if you were a pauper, you went into a pauper's grave, and that just denoted that you didn't get a headstone, you didn't get, like, a proper burial. You were put into a mass grave. And the thing with this is that that wasn't terrible. It was more of a natural decomposition. This is what happened to Mozart. Back whenever he died in his early 30s, I believe, it was from like a bronchial issue that he had. And whenever he passed on, it was one of those things of where like they tried to find his grave. Gravestones are meant as memorial sites, but it's healthier not to be enclosed in a box necessarily. And this is a law that they were trying to pass in California right now, of where you're basically in a pod, but you're surrounded by leaves and you know, more natural things that are supposed to be helping you decompose back to the earth, returning it and being reused and recycled. Like every animal does whenever they decompose into the ground. You're using the sod, you're using the earth from what is a dead body in all intents and purposes. So I find it funny that a lot of what the Catholic Church tried to do was control the burial processes, and that's why we have, you know, that's why you're buried in a box now instead of just the earth where you're supposed to be.
And it's actually interesting to note too, right? Because it's this idea of preserving someone after death. Humans have a weird thing with mortality, but the then traditions of, because they didn't understand why people's nails seem to grow longer or their teeth got longer. It's really just everything that is also converted from other cults. Yes. That is correct. But I just lost my train of thought. Anyway, never mind.
You're good. You know, it's kind of like how people want to be able to keep their youthful glow all the time, and people, like, to an extent, if, you know, you've seen a lot of... Even in death, they want to be able to have that, like, oh my god, Kim Kardashian glow. Sorry, I had to.
You are killing me.
And the thing is like, that's how natural. Like, whenever I explain to someone, oh my god, I love my gray hairs because it makes me look like the Witcher, they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, it's natural. It's supposed to happen. You know, it's kind of like saying that, oh, your bones are never going to hurt whenever you're older. It's delaying an inevitability. Like, people get Botox to delay an inevitability or help migraines, whichever one it is. People get plastic surgery to delay an inevitability. You know, whenever...
Which, side note, I do want to say, if you are somebody who is into preserving youth,
that's fine.
That's okay.
That's fine. Do you? You know, we're just pointing out kind of like the morbid reality of why psychologically people do it. Because to an extent, they want to preserve what they have. And that's absolutely fine. Go for it. Do that. That's great. You know, I don't ever fault someone for getting plastic surgery, because that, at the end of the day, that's your body. That's your choice. But whenever I see, you know, people doing it for the wrong reasons, that's when it kind of gets into a more iffy situation, to please a partner, to please society, when you don't need to please anybody but yourself, honey. Okay?
Right. But the idea of, I mean, really, vampires and all of those kind of creatures, right? Is I just think is humans' way of coping with death and their weird problem with the idea that we all at some point die.
Yeah.
And cease to exist.
Yeah.
The idea of, like, an afterlife as well, I think, points to that, of not being comfortable with you as a person no longer existing anywhere. And so we create this place where us and our loved ones get to live forever.
Yeah, it also has to do a lot with the ego of the person, too, because they think, oh, you know, we need to live forever. We need to... Well, what if we're not around anymore? You're not going to know anyway. Like, let's be completely 100% real about this right now. When you die, you're not going to know it. When you're asleep, do you know that you're dreaming? Do you know that you're not
You're
awake?
just in it.
You're just in it. That's the same thing. They call the what is it in French? I forget the French term for it, but they call death. They call sleep rather the little death.
No, that's wrong.
Oh, it is.
They
Which
call
one
the
is
orgasm the little death.
Okay.
The orgasm is the little death.
Okay. Whoa. I did not expect that actually. I didn't expect that.
I got you.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, that's not gonna happen here on this channel. This is family friendly.
Family friendly. This is the wrong stream.
I should not be here.
Bojangle said, "This is interesting because never understood the point of burying someone in a box. It's just something that accepted over time." Yeah, because over time, you know, you grow up with cultural norms and things in society, and you just think that it is the way it is, and some people just never question it. So.
Yeah, I mean, if we even look at, because you mentioned Vikings, right? You can look at Egyptians too, right? The idea of pyramids
Right.
and all of that, and how the pharaohs were buried with their wealth and with their servants and whatever else, and it's the same idea of like all those things will come with you to the afterlife, right?
Yeah.
But it's really just humans being uncomfortable with the idea of dying and
Yeah.
their consciousness also going and not existing anywhere else, you know? So,
Yeah. And just to note, death is not the sleep is not the little death, so I'm so sorry about that. You
It's
get
not.
it.
It's cool. I
You
got
get
you.
it. I'm blushing over here because you said orgasm, so I'm just like, okay.
Orgasms. Yes. Those are natural too.
Talking to.
unlike the church, guys, what the church
Oh,
says,
she's going
talking
there.
about that.
The tea. Okay. But no, that was like how someone in acting class just is like taught how to like fake laugh. They're like, ha. Like
Okay,
those.
but sometimes I actually laugh like that, but I'm really laughing. I have like 13 different laughs.
I
So.
think that's just because we're dead inside. It's okay.
I feel called out. I feel a little bit attacked right now. I came to have a good time, and I'm feeling a little attacked.
Sorry. Oh man. So
Good, I'm kidding.
okay, so this is something that we have to talk about. Since we're talking about Christianity, we're talking about religion in a sense combined with the vampiric lore. I wrote about it here in the thesis as well. Why did Christianity not eradicate the vampire myth? If they have so much power, if they have so much wealth and determination among society, why didn't they just eradicate it if they didn't like it so much? Well, the church gave authority to the ancient vampire myth by declaring vampires as an agent of the devil. Freaking hell.
Yes, create an enemy.
Yeah, exactly. And
Create an
that's,
enemy for
you
people
know.
to hate.
And you know what's
and to
funny is
fear.
that the devil was actually God's favorite angel. His favorite angel.
Mm.
And that's the thing. Like, he was actually Lilith's boyfriend as her period.
Yes,
so,
in Vampire the Masquerade,
you know?
that's her man. Or, well,
Yeah.
one of them.
one of them.
one of her men.
One of them. By doing so, the church fostered the kind of keeping in the emphasis that threatening parts of the vampire myth are still a present thing. Like, they took the evil parts of it, and that's how they created the iconography for what the devil is, with the horns and the redness and the, you know, the stake thing and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, it's all about fear, right? It's all about controlling people through fear. And so if you give them a supernatural entity that's like crazy fucking powerful and is out there hunting you and your children and your loved ones, people are unfortunately more likely to listen to you. The church took a huge blow to their power during the plague, so they needed more control.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's really what it all boils down to, right? Is you take the humans' fear of death and fear of things that they don't understand, and you create monsters for them to be afraid of so that they'll listen to you.
Yeah. What was it? This approach created a power structure where the church held all of the power. To assuage the fear that the vampire myth had created, the church offered a Christian remedy to prevent vampirism. Yeah, I bet now a lot of people know that.
Here that said the priest hid or didn't tend to their communities. Exactly. So, like, if we think about the plague, right, or things of that nature, right?
Yeah.
What is the way to kind of give an excuse for when the priests don't come to the people's houses where, you know, people are dying and whatever else. You say, oh, well, there's vampires out at night.
Yeah.
We can't have our priests going out there.
Yeah. Exactly. What was it? The church offered a Christian remedy to prevent the vampirism. Additionally, the church promoted the vampire as a metaphysical scapegoat, kind of what we were talking about before, alongside with witches, werewolves, and set up inquisitions to protect Christians from such demons. Witherspoon 2010. This was an article that was posted back then whenever we were doing research for it. We even started our research for this thesis actually back in 2013, if I remember correctly, because we had to have what was going to be our thesis for our graduating statements by 2013 or 2014. So that means that all of the, you know, documents and everything had to have validity to them. All of the stuff that I'm mentioning, just as a side note really quickly, all the stuff that I'm mentioning over here, you can find online. You can find it anywhere else. So, you know, just want to say, because I know a lot of people like have said before whenever I've done articles that, oh, she's just pulling this out of her ass. I'm like, calm down, Kim. All right.
I love this. I love people. Oh God, we'll get. That's another podcast. That we can get into that, but
we need to. We need to just have one like petty podcast of where we're talking about people's bullshit.
Can we call it that? Just
the petty podcast.
The petty podcast.
Yes. You know what? We're doing this. We're not even gonna put up a fucking poll. We're just gonna do this. Okay.
Yes, I'm into it.
After Bloodborne, we can do that. Because actually, you guys chose on the poll that we left a couple of days ago by a landslide, Bloodborne won. So,
all right, I'm into it, and that's I'm gonna have to get into the lore because that's what I do over here. So,
I'm excited.
I'll be doing research.
Yes, but the thing is that in summary of what the thesis is, in the Legend of Vampire is just dark, unpredictable evil that is colloquially used to enforce social order. If we want to break it down to its finite points, that's what the Catholic Church did, that's what a lot of religions did, just to enforce order, just to enforce, you know, this kind of reasoning for what the chaos is. This archetype has been stewing and roiling in the human subconscious for more than 2,500 years, when the Catholic Church seizes the image and raises the vampires up as a direct minion of Satan. Now, if we want to get more into how the separation of church and state began, go back to Henry VIII, because he literally was the one who did the separation of church and state. Not too many people know, because not too many people read anymore. Not an offense to anybody, it just is what it is, okay? Not too many people pick up a damn book or an article and read. It's true, though, okay?
Wait, did the petty podcast start? Did it start? Because that was petty as shit.
It literally...
said not too many people read no more. Y'all don't read, and that's why you don't know shit. You don't read.
I'm just saying facts out here, okay? Listen.
Ariel said, y'all are fucking dumb. You don't read.
It's one of those things, though, where, like, I'll literally, and this is just, I'm normally on PC, I'm one of those people who's just like, I'm not going to like trigger if I don't need to, but y'all need to read more. Seriously. Like, whenever I am mentioning something or a quote or whatever it is that I think is just common knowledge, everybody comes back to me like, what's this? Google. I'm not a Google Doc.
I love this. So
freaking hell. Like, I just need to point that out.
No, that's fair, though. That is fair. Not a lot of people will actually read through a whole article. That they'll just read. You see it all the time on the internet where they just read the title of an article and they'll share it, but they didn't actually read the fucking article. So
I know a lot of my people here, they'll do their due diligence and they will read like through some of the articles that I post. I love that. Thank you. But for some of those people who are just reading the headers of like maybe a thesis, maybe an article and say, oh, this is bullshit. What are you doing to me? Oh my God.
The voices
stop.
I just come out with fucking end me. I love it. Yes.
That's how they are. They're literally like keyboard warriors that go like, oh my God, can you really? Oh my God. Oh my God, I get it right now. Okay. See,
well,
we've got
post society. That's true.
Yeah. It's one of those things
Go ahead.
where, like, this podcast has gone from educational hilarity, educational insanity, educational, oh my god, what the fuck is she doing?
I feel like that's fair because of who's involved. Go over there.
Mommy,
Okay, hold on a second, you guys.
it's
Yeah.
a bunch of dog worms.
Where?
I mean worms. There's a solstice.
Uh-oh, it's a chair stream right now. But I hope you guys are enjoying this stream, though. It's whenever we are doing like a podcast like this, it always gets into just insanity. So I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. I hope that you guys are not taking too much offense to what we're saying, because we really like to just be completely and utterly honest whenever we're doing these kinds of podcasts. That way you guys get as much information in our mindset as possible. So I'm trying to see where I can pick up next, because this is almost done. This is almost done. Okay, so this next part you're actually
Okay, you're good. I just had
Okay.
to make sure my screen was all set up
okay.
and that people would still be able to hear. Yeah.
Okay, so the sixth one.
He said he's very entertained, so I think he's done a good job.
Yeah,
Hopefully
awesome.
everyone else is entertained too.
Yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying yourselves, not getting too triggered. You know, I like to intellectually trigger some people, but you know, I don't want to like go all in. So
Yeah, you don't want to put anyone through it. Yeah, no, that's
yeah,
fair.
exactly.
Go ahead.
I just noticed, by the way, that you're wearing a Pikachu outfit. That is lit.
I am.
I love that so
Yes,
much.
I
I
am.
just noticed that. I'm like, yes, Pika boobies, love it.
We out here.
So, OnlyFans, no.
I do have an OnlyFans.
Yeah, I which is actually
So-
linked down below if you guys want to check out our OnlyFans. Where was it? So you're gonna get a kick out of this. The church that not only
Yeah.
provides the only sanctuary and preventative measures to protect an individual from a vampire, but that also sets in motion a series of regulations guaranteeing that there will be always a sufficient supply of the revenants to keep the public terrified and continually returning for more crucifixes, Bibles, and holy water. Why do you think we have people who just spell out their sins, what bad things they've done, their confessions? Why do you think that we have that? It started back in this era of when vampirism was at apparently an all-time high, a systematic issue.
Amazing.
I love this
And
podcast.
They were like,
Oh wait, I'm sorry. I love
Go
this
ahead.
podcast. You feed off of each other so well. Good information, great entertainment. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
That means a lot. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that's very interesting to me. They were like, don't worry about the plague, worry about vampires.
Yeah.
Don't worry
Yeah.
about, being a shit person. Worry about vampires. That's what you gotta worry about.
Exactly.
That's the real concern.
It's like, it's so weird too, because as a side note, this is something interesting that I found out whenever I was going through, and I call it a phase because that's what it was, because I am an atheist. I went through this religious phase because it was a guy I liked back in college. Not afraid to admit that, okay? And I tried to go I tried to go into confession at one point because I just wanted to see what it was. Intellectually, I was really curious about what confessions were. And they asked, okay, what denomination are you of the religion sect? And I said, I am Jewish. And they said, you're not allowed in here.
Really?
Point blank, not allowed into a confessional because I am Jewish.
I wonder if it's
So.
because you weren't, because the Hebrew religion doesn't.
It does
believe that
actually.
Jesus
For-
is the Messiah.
They
Okay,
they believe
yeah.
to an extent, because the thing is that they don't believe he's the Messiah, but they believe in the literature that he is the Son of God. They know about the
Oh,
literature, they
okay.
believe in that fact, and they're like, well, we don't believe in him as our God, but we believe in him. We believe the fact that he was, the son of
A prophet.
a
Yeah,
prophet.
that he was
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but because it's not in our religion to do confessionals, or at least not in the immediate religion that I was in at the time for the Jewish tradition, they were like, nah, sorry, you can't do that, bro. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's really interesting.
Oh, interesting. That's
So-
very interesting.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you would go and I would see like what mass was like, and funny story, whenever I went into the first pew, they were saying everything in Latin, and I was like, this is really cool. It sounds really beautiful. The music, just absolutely gorgeous, by the way. Christian music is absolutely beautiful. But we would
music
go...
is beautiful, so.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Just the way that I saw everybody just getting so into it, getting so involved in the process, very interesting, very heartwarming. But it came to a point of where, when I was standing there with my friend at the time, the guy was like putting holy water over everybody, and the guy like put holy water over me, and I was like, oh crap, am I not Jewish anymore? Like, the guy...
Oh my god, that's so precious!
the guy...
Touch me with holy water, am I not Jewish anymore? That's so cute!
I was like
Oh my God.
19 at the time. I never went to a mass before. I never had that experience. And the girl who was sitting next to me was like, no, you have to go through a long process before that, sweetie.
That's amazing. That's so
It
cute.
was so-
Oh my god.
And I was just like, I felt like a splash and I flinched a little bit. I could swear someone looked at me like, spawn of Satan!
You know, when I y'all do with this what you will, but when I was younger, it must have been probably around the same age, 18, 19 years old. I remember it whenever I would go into churches, I would feel dizzy and like almost like overstimulated. And I would get really dizzy and I wouldn't be able to stay in the church because I would become like nauseous.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm sure there's some psychological reason as to my aversion towards the church, but you know, that was very much, you know. And when my mother, who is a crazy person, that's the kindest way I can put that. But when my mother noticed that I was having those issues in the church, she tried to have me prayed over, sort of like a mini exorcism, because she thought, you know, it's got to be demons. my daughter can't walk into a church because demons.
It's funny because that's where a lot of the psychological issues I feel come with for a lot of people who have experienced that without, like, you know, social media or science or like modern day technology, because a lot of the kids would just go along with it. They wouldn't be thinking through like you did of where maybe this isn't so right, you know, what's going on, like questioning things logically. And that's the thing of where like I have such an issue with the entire thing of religion, because it's like, while I respect people's right to practice whatever they want to practice, it is at the end of the day for me kind of mentally abusive to put someone
No, that's fair.
through something like that, because it makes their brain think, oh crap, I'm the one who's wrong, instead of a systematic area of concentrated things that are trying to perpetuate a system of, well, you're not at fault, it's the things that are going on, and the demons and the vampires and all of the bad juju. So
Yeah.
where do we want to continue actually? Hold on one second, because a lot of the stuff I kind of reiterate for psychological point and everything like that. There is actually one point actually here of where the terrifying symbol of punishment for deeds not done and those committed, which began as a mere cautionary tale, is now raised the polar opposite to Christ. So anything you do in opposition or anything like that, immediately opposition to Christ. Naturally, the vampire consumes the victims. Yeah, exactly. The vampire consumes the victim's lifeblood, whereas Christ proffers his to save the victim's soul. So this is where you get that dichotomy of good and evil.
Yeah.
Do vampires really not like garlic, or is that just a rumor garlic sellers started? It's actually something that was started by the Catholic Church. It was something that was started by this entire idea that you have to have something to fear. So that was started back, back in the days of whenever the Catholic Church took over the vampire legend. It has nothing to do with the lore that was actually created by the people who actually like started the mythos of it. So,
Right.
that's a good question, actually. Thank you, Peter. So to get into more of the psychology behind it, because we have the psychosocial function of the vampire myth. And
Hold on one second.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Garlic and silver were like medicine to purify blood. It's symbolic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's symbolic, but something also that the Catholic Church created in order to control its people.
Yeah, but and the idea was to purify the blood, very much like the way that the Catholic Church would deal with mental illness. If you had something like schizophrenia,
Yeah.
it's not that you had schizophrenia, it's you have demons. And so the idea of exorcism was to exorcise you of those demons, which is unfortunate because a lot of people died due to this need to purify the body and the blood. So
The same thing with transorbital lobotomies to control people back in World War II. Same thing with that.
fucking lobotomies. That's a whole other podcast. Is talking about lobotomies.
insane.
Jesus
You know?
Christ. But yes.
But yeah, the thing is that like whenever you're going into the psychosocial function of the vampire myth, you get into throughout the cultures that were examined in this entire thesis. The early vampire myths served to define an evil other, a darkness or a void from which individual would be safe only as long as the individual held closely to certain cultural norms. So you couldn't go too close to the fire, else you would get burned. Kind of ideology here. Where was it? So you have Durkheim, who studied all of the basic institutions of society, such as religion, family, economy, government, and education, in terms of their degree of integration and disintegration. He found that the institutions in traditional or non-industrial societies were integrated differently than those industrial or modern ones. So different, like I said before, different places are going to have different types of myths, depending on your wealth, depending on your stature, all that kind of stuff. So, excuse me. The vampires. Sorry.
The vampires caused the cough.
The most psychological interpretations of the vampire legend are Freudian, our main man. And see
This guy.
This guy. Oh, did you have sex with your mother? Was it good? No? Okay. Sorry. Oh, man. Anytime. Freud is just known for being just the weird uncle at the barbecue. Like, that's just what he is.
A lot of these philosophers were the weird guy, the weird uncle at the barbecue, for sure.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, Freud is a great mind, great psychologist, but at the end of the day, whenever you see the way he treated some of his patients, I'm just like, what are you doing, bro?
Yeah, kind of rough. Yeah, for sure.
Creating the Oedipus complex, that's another podcast entirely.
Oh, for sure. We could get into that.
So,
fucking weird shit.
Since most psychological interpretations of the vampire legends are from Freud, and see the legend in terms of incest, homosexuality, sadism, and masochism, these interpretations miss a core meaning of the vampire, one of our oldest, most recognizable archetypal
It's fine.
figures.
English is hard.
Huh?
Yes.
Habla inglés. The vampire has been cursed, denied eternal rest because some under-redeemed the sin against a collective, more religious taboos. They're not letting the vampire religion actually kind of, in a sense, cope with what it's been through. It's more, in a sense, lingering throughout the years, being bent to whichever will.
Unrest.
So
Right, the idea of unrest, yeah, for sure.
yeah, and Jung here also taught that the archetypes are universal models that flow from our collective unconsciousness and are patterns of behavior or inborn tendencies which shape human behavior. So to continue on from that, today the ever-adaptable vampiric legend permeates every art form, in theater to music, scholarly studies, and novels, from humor to drama, comics, and cartoons. It permeates every medium, every age group, both sexes, or every sex, I should say. I said both sexes there because, and every variation of the sexes. Because the thing is that when we look into, like, how far it's actually come, it's astounding. Like, talk about immortality. The vampire legend itself is just, it's
immortal. Well, that's a whole other thing. But art, the idea of storytelling, which humans have been doing since our existence, it's immortal. You can put anything into some art and it becomes immortal.
Exactly.
Vampires are one of them. Yeah.
So, to close off this thesis and our discussion, we're in the home run, you guys. Glad you stuck it out with us. The rise of secularism in vampire choice. So, this is where I go into saying, in order to use religious symbols against the undead, one must have faith in them. And Father Callahan's faith in faith was weakening as the last of the cross, light vanished. Since Callahan's faith was lost, so has his power over the vampires. This is from Tadlock Justin P. 2016. And when you guys look at that, you'll see kind of like interesting flows in that article itself. With the dissolution for those powerful institutions, the family church, faith and cultural tradition to the void, it can no longer be held. Hence, the rise of the vampire. Because the rise of the vampire is something of where you're seeing more of a cultural divide from what is the truth, what is not the truth. And people are slowly coming to terms and realizing that they have had the wool over their eyes, so to speak.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I like the idea. I like that a lot, actually. This, the part where he says that in order to have, for these religious icons and whatnot to have power, you have to believe in them in the first place.
yeah.
There's a show where it's a vampire show, but one of the characters is speaking to a priest and saying that the character has lived for 1,000 years, and she's like, for 1,000 years, I've never seen any evidence of a god. I've lived for 1,000 years, and I don't know that there is, some almighty being and its power coming from, and your power to control me coming from that. So like, I kind of like that shift in vampires of them being like, listen, this is nonsense. And it
really
has
is.
the power over me, bitch. Like, I love that so much. It's so good.
But you guys, that was my thesis that I wrote that you guys are finally hearing for the first time, because I've never shared this before. So I would like, egotistically, I would like to get your thoughts on what you all thought about it, including you, Shass.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I think it was very educational, and I like that it doesn't just stick to one culture or one version of the vampire, and that sort of expounds upon all the different types and the various ways humans have tried to cope with this idea of the vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, this was something of where, like, I've kind of always wanted to share this with you guys, but always thought that I'm gonna be like the weirdo and everything like that.
Girl, be the weirdo.
But then
Hey,
I found,
babe.
but then this is when
Sorry.
I found this hoe over here, and she shares my saying love of vampires and stuff, so it makes it easier. But the thing is that whenever we're looking into lore, I do want to set kind of like a precedent that this is lore. For a lot of people, it's reality too, and that's perfectly fine. But we're talking about it from a lore and psychological standpoint. And you know what? And I'm going to say this right now, I've always been fascinated by vampires. I've always been fascinated by the fact that they existed for people mentally back in the day. They existed for cultures. They existed for, just a millennia. And it's so fascinating to see. So for those of you who might have questions about it, now's your time to ask, because there has been so many different studies.
The chat hour where the chat can speak with us and ask questions. I mean, yeah. Oh, Chris said that I'm a witch, so.
Bruja over here.
I'm a witch. Hey.
Are you gonna like wrinkle your nose a little bit and do? There we go. Okay.
Get out of here with that bewitched nonsense. It's brujeria over here.
Listen, it's I Dream of Jeannie, okay?
Oh no. Oh no.
That's a 1950s
okay.
classic, okay?
That is fair. It is very fair. What about the romantic Gothic vampire? Well, let's fucking talk about it. Let's talk about the romantic Gothic vampire. When did that come around?
That came around the time that Anne Rice and Stephen King wrote about their novels back in Salem's Lot and Lestat era. And when
Well, I mean, I've talked a little bit earlier. I talked to you about how I feel like, for my knowledge, right? Which isn't so extensive, but I feel that for me, the kind of birth of the romantic vampire is really Dracula. This idea of, he comes with his illusions of this very handsome man and comes and takes away the maiden,
Well, I think, like, to kind of counter that, I feel like it's not intentionally sexy. what they were trying to do. I feel like with Lestat and with...
You don't think so?
No, I don't think it was intentionally that way. I think it was just that air because Bram Stoker wrote it more as a mysterious air about him, not as intentionally trying to make him this poster boy of romance, you know, the way Lestat was, or the way, you know, Salem's Lot was.
Like, yeah, let's see here. I'm currently looking up some things. Do shining, glimmering vampires count as romantic vampires? I don't know that they do. Dracula is about sexy Eastern Europeans moving into England. There you go. Yeah.
We can say that.
Okay. I love that I fucking looked up the beginnings of Gothic romantic vampires, and all I've gotten is literal literature of essentially romance novels about vampires. And third on the list, the ultimate list of the best vampires pregnancy romance books. What's fucking going on? What's going on?
I need to redo my thesis now.
Let me fucking look up Lord Byron, thank you. So I can see what the fucking...
You see, the thing is, I think Mr. Lord Skeleton over here would agree that that is complete BS, okay?
Yeah.
By the way, I just want to say as a side note, for those of you who might, I don't know who's watching, you know, it might be a rando or something like that, who believe in vampires and who believe that they might exist, go through a lot of the evidence that you have culturally across the years. The evidence changes.
Yeah.
Every 100, 200, 300 years or so, everything will change. And go off of and see if there is actually a factual consistency for their existence. And then come back to me.
There is not. There is
So.
not. I'm going to say that now. There is not.
So.
Okay, so I was suggested to look up Lord Byron, who is an English poet.
Oh yeah, he's really good.
And he was one of the leading literature figures for like romantic literature.
Mhm.
So is what you're saying? There isn't, yeah. Is what you're saying, Chase, that he was kind of the father of the romantic vampire? Is that what you're suggesting?
That would be news for me. Because I always thought of Lord Byron as kind of like this kind of just fancy poet who always spoke angelically about certain titles and but he's kind of like the Hemingway of romance, you know?
He was a major influence. Okay.
Okay,
I see.
okay.
That's fair. Well, I mean, he did write Don Juan.
Yeah.
So that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean,
Cool.
Don
I'm
Juan...
gonna have to look more into that because
Yeah.
I don't know too much about him, so that's very interesting.
Don Juan had vampiric airs to him, but there wasn't anything substantial as a claim to the fact that it was vampiric in a sense. Whenever
No, I don't think that's the claim
Yeah.
here. I don't think
Oh,
that
okay.
anyone thinks that Don Juan was supposed to be a vampire. Just that Lord Byron, the writer, kind of helped
Right.
influence the idea of Gothic vampires. who
Ah,
are
okay. Because, you know,
romantic.
it's interesting to me that, you know, there will be so many different lore pieces of what people think started the lore of vampires, romantically speaking. There was one person who thought Twilight was that. My God. There was-
Twilight. They need to
No.
wait.
Like I said,
Not
y'all
Twilight.
need to read. Y'all need to say it with me. Y'all need to read. Y'all need turn it into a song.
A
Okay.
good way to tell if someone is a witch is to tie them up, throw them in a lake, and if they live, they a witch. We have to burn them. That is hilarious. Okay, so my husband is.
Chris, he's out here.
Yeah, he's out here. No, there's a video in which two guys essentially take all the stereotypes of how you figure out someone's a witch
Yeah.
and put that on a female. It's a hilarious skit. I will send it to you. But
Anybody would
but
drown if we
actually,
toss them in the water.
It brings up a good point that the same way that people will believe in things like vampires, you know, like, oh yeah, the way that you get rid of a vampire, a cross, a stake, some holy water. Evidence for that? There's none. They
If you put a stake through anybody's heart, it would kill them. So
exactly, human or vampire. I never learned how to read.
if you put a cross up to me, I'd just be like, if you put holy water up to me, apparently I still think I'm Jewish. So there's nothing correlating with this.
It's amazing. I love this. So
I mean,
much.
you know, it's one of those things of where like,
I think
if you continue on this archetype of where people like will go back, they'll believe, they'll fight about it, they'll disagree, then the cycle continues over and over and over again through millennia. it gets tiring after a while.
Right.
Now we know why the vampire has just been like, kill me already.
Yeah, I mean, so many opinions about vampires in that regard.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, the idea of vampire and how to combat them is really just humans being human and being afraid of things that they don't understand, and then going, let's come up with ludicrous ways in which to destroy it. So it's like fear of sin, fear of other, fear of unknown.
Yeah.
And then there hence is birth the vampire, you know?
It's
an
miraculous.
enemy for humans to fight.
Or maybe the true savior, you know? Because Jesus isn't getting anything done.
Leave room for Jesus, Ariel. Leave room for Jesus.
Oh, it was a vampire. Sorry.
Not lewd. Yeah, everything is a vampire's fault from this point on. Bless you. Bless you again. The vampires are coming for you, Mama.
Pikachu.
Oh my God.
Yes, I timed it correctly.
So, salute, girl. What's going on? Now I'm concerned. Go get some help. The vampires are coming for you.
Oh my god, through their blood and unholiness, they're making me sneeze, damn bastards.
Yes, you're allergic to the unholy energy. It's vampires. Okay, yeah, no. So this is you know,
Question
a fucking audience hour.
Yeah.
Y'all could say what you need to in the chat.
Literally NPR. It's be like, this is audience hour at NPR. The time for recreation, sinning, and above all, a good fucking time. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so favorite vampires. Okay.
Oh.
Shit.
You want to go first?
There's a lot of them. Like, I don't know that I have a favorite. I have just a very long list of vampires that I love. I have to say Lestat. Because he's the vampire that loves being a vampire, and that's my favorite. I love the rock star vampire, you know, the one that doesn't feel bad about who they are. Like, these Edwards, these Louise, these fucking ho-hum, oh, poor me, I get to live forever, and I have powers. I can't stand that bullshit. No. Get the fuck out of here. You're a vampire. Fucking, you need to
act like it.
Shit. Right, you need to love that shit, or else, like, what's the fucking point? Walk into the sun. You know what I'm saying?
That's like a good, like, that's like the equivalent of saying F off. It's just like, walk into the sun.
Yes. That is exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. So my favorite.
All right, so who are your...
I have a top 3. And the first one's going to be a little bit unconventional. Nosferatu. Why? Because he is thoroughly, like, a childlike innocence in what he's kind of doing. He knows what he's doing, but he also is kind of, like, born into kind of, like, this, he was turned and he kind of looks, like, grotesque and everything like that. It's showing what the true nature of being somewhat of a vampire is, and this Nosferatu character, like, carries on through so much of the literature, through Vampire the Masquerade. It's one of the best characters, actually, in Vampire the Masquerade.
They're my favorite. I love the Nosferatu.
So, can I just say, like, in the game, Nosferatu is one of the most well-written characters ever in the game. Mm-hmm. It's so good.
Yeah.
My second favorite
in the video game. Yeah.
Let's see. Lestat second, because he's just a badass.
How can you not love him?
He's just a badass. Yeah.
Yes, Lestat is the best. He's the best.
And then I would have to say, as my third favorite, I'm trying to think, because there's so many lore pieces that have been.
You could do TV shows too. Like, it doesn't have to be. You know what I mean? Like, you could do TV shows.
Damon.
Damon! He's another one. He's another one who's very well. He's not always like this, but he's for the most part very much a character that's like, I love being a vampire. Okay, so
favorite
when Lestat danced with that corpse singing Italian, I lived. Yes, see, that is fucking Lestat is the best. And then Krista's Mavis from Hotel Transylvania.
Yes. Favorite vampire movies.
So cute. Favorite vampire
movies.
Oh,
Thank you, Bojangles.
The Legacy of Kain video games. Have you ever played the Legacy of Kain?
Ooh, no, I
games?
haven't.
I haven't, so I don't.
I haven't.
Oh. So Kain is apparently another favorite, who's from a video game. Interesting. I'll have to look that up because I don't actually know who that is.
Yeah.
So what was the question from your chat?
From Bojangles, its favorite vampire movies.
Oh boy. Okay.
I have 3 off the top of my head.
Shit. Well, because I said Lestat is my favorite vampire, I have to say, you know, the Anne Rice movie, or well, it's not her movies, but you know, Interview with the Vampire and Queen of the Damned, because Lestat is in there.
I love it.
But okay, so hold on, and then I had another one, the vampires in 30 Days of Night.
I love that so much. It's so good.
It's one of my favorite scenes. Is this girl, and she's surrounded by these vampires, and she is like praying to God, and the sort of leader of the vampires looks up to the sky, and then looks at her and says, "No, God." And
I
they all
remember that.
proceed to eat her.
That was
I love that scene so
That was so chilling.
It's so good. So 30 Days of Night was originally a graphic novel. So yeah, and then hold on, she said Only Lovers Left Alive, which is a vampire movie. So there's that, and then Blade, but only the first movie. Blade is a great story. If y'all haven't got into Blade, go get into it. What is that?
Only the first movie? Hello, Ryan Reynolds was in the third one. Okay? You can't...
But
respectfully disagree.
That is like, fight me. Yeah, so, okay. The first movie... the first Blade movie is...
iconic.
Incredible. It's so good. I do love the second because of the Reapers, which are they're like the weird... I mean, they're vampires, but they're kind of this weird mutant thing, and like their whole bottom half splits open when they eat. Iconic. I fucking love them
so much.
So I'm gonna say Blade 1 and 2, not just the first movie. I'm gonna say Blade 1 and 2 were great.
Yeah.
The third one I could do without. And to be fair, right, the Queen of the Damned movie, guys, it's garbage. It's real bad. It's not good at all. It's not good at all.
Are you trying to hurt me?
But the soundtrack is fire. The soundtrack for Queen of the Damned is the best.
I feel like she's
so
trying to hurt me,
fucking good.
guys. She's trying to hurt
What
me
happened?
here. She's trying to hurt me.
I'm not trying to hurt you, I promise.
She's trying to literally put a stake through my heart right now.
Listen, Queen of the Damned is not good. It's not good at all.
It's a misrepresentation
why...
of the book, but nostalgic-wise, it is fire.
For sure. If I see Queen of the Damned pop up on fucking Netflix or wherever, I will totally watch it. Like, hands down. Yeah. My problem with that movie is really that I feel, and this is the unfortunate part, is that Aaliyah, who plays Akasha, she passed away as they were filming the movie.
Exactly.
So it feels as if it was rushed, and you could see it in the editing, the way that it's cut together. It seems very much like there was more that was supposed to be in there, but they never got to film it, you know? So that's part of why it's not very good, is the story is, I don't know, it doesn't flow very well.
I feel like they should just redo parts of it, because it's like, I feel like they could do such a better job on it now where it's not rushed.
Well, from what I understand, the whole Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles are going to be made into a TV series, I believe.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that does happen, and from there we'll get the full consistent story, and it'll be, you know, allowed to breathe and stretch.
I want to be able just to see more of Armand, because he was such a pivotal character in the books.
Oh, Armand is
just
great.
Amazing.
I love this idea of vampires turning other vampires, not so much as like, so much as like a by accident or just because of like fiendish nature, but rather changing, turning people to become more like culturally aware, like where the humans are at now, because there's, you know, the longer you live, sort of the more detached you become from humanity, and the idea of having, you know, creating children, so to speak, in order to kind of keep up with humanity, for them to teach you what's going on with humans
Exactly.
right now is really cool.
Yeah.
And that was like a big thing with Armand. Now let's see real quick. Hold on. We have Lost Boys, which is
Lost
there
Boys is
multiple
good.
movies? Because I feel like I've only seen the very first, but I'm pretty sure there's like a
so.
second movie.
I
Yeah,
think so,
of
yeah,
Lost Boys?
because I've only seen the first one.
Yeah, so whenever I think of Lost Boys, I think glam rock vampires, and so just 80s glam rock, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So yeah, that's all that I actually remember of that movie is 80s glam rock vampires.
Just tossing the hair up and down like Van Halen.
Yes. Okay, and then we have Helsing. Oh, so yes. Okay. Helsing, the live action movie is what we're
Yes.
talking about?
Yeah.
Or are we talking about the anime? Because both are great.
Both are really good. I haven't seen the anime. I've only seen commercials for the anime.
Man.
Sharp intake of breath, man. You thought Jungkook walked in here.
Listen, Helsing, it is such a great anime. I would say it's one of the first animes that I watched. I had to sneak it, but one of the first animes that I watched when I was younger.
Wait,
because,
no!
Again, I grew up super religious.
I know what you're talking about. Sorry. Oh my god, full on Alucard and everything. I completely forgot about that. I
Yes!
have it on DVD.
Alucard is the shit. He is.
How did I
fire.
forget about that? Oh my gosh, I watched that entire series. How did I forget about that iconicness? Freaking
Yeah,
police girl and everything.
Yes. Oh, girl.
I
Please.
love it.
There are
I love
two
it.
animes. That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are two animes.
There's
But,
the Ultimate Edition, I think. I'm not
yes,
sure.
there's Helsing Ultimate, which is
Yeah.
great. And then the first one.
Oh, I need to say my movies. I didn't say mine.
Go ahead, say your movies. Say your movies. I'm sorry, we went on a tangent.
Blade. All the Blade movies. Okay? Don't mess with me, alright? I'm gonna say it. People are gonna hate me for this, but Blood Rain. The first one. Okay?
I haven't seen it, so I can't give an opinion on
It
this-
is
on the Blood Rain movie.
terribly good. It's like
Oh, okay.
one of those
I got you.
B-side horror movies that was made by fans who love horror. It's just it represents the game.
So it's a little bit corny,
You know?
but it's good.
Yeah. Another one is Hellsing, the live action one, because I love the anime, but
Yeah,
I
which-
love the live action one. You know, they did such a good job with that.
Great.
Um,
Yeah, the brides look
and-
amazing.
yeah, honestly, they really do. What was the other one? There's another one I had on my list. Oh, classic black and white Dracula.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
old school Dracula. Hell yeah.
Yep. I love
Great
that.
movie. For
Yeah.
sure. Oh yeah, okay, so I was just reminded, Castlevania is an
I love
amazing anime that is
So
on
good.
Netflix. If
So
you
good.
have not watched it, go fucking watch it. It's incredible. It's so good.
Wait a second.
Alucard is also in there.
Speaking of Castlevania, they have the Switch out for it right now. If you guys ever want to pick it up, they have it from limited run. It's really, really good. Be sure to get it quickly
Yes.
because these are selling out. So just thought I'd put that in there. The games are iconic.
So a new vampire movie, as I was just reminded, that's going to come out with Jared Leto playing
So excited for that one. I'm
the
so
character
excited.
is Morbius.
Yes, I'm so
Which
excited.
is yeah, it looks so fucking good, dude. I cannot wait to, if they do it justice, I'll be so happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Morbius is cool comic book vampire that everyone should get
So
into.
good. Oh, yeah.
And it's Marvel, so I'm hoping, just from the Marvel movies that we've seen so far, they've all been great. So I'm hoping Morbius is done well as well.
Peter said nothing beats Count Duckula.
Oh,
I
stop
love
it!
I love
Stop
it. I want to do quack quack.
Oh yeah, have you seen Dracula Untold?
No, I haven't.
Oh, girl, go watch it. You have to see Dracula Untold. It's so good. It's fucking beautiful. I feel like it's such an underrated movie. Like, a lot of people do not appreciate it, but
Okay.
Dracula Untold is fabulous.
Hey, Bojangles said Morbius trailer drops tomorrow. I'm reviewing it. That's it. I'm reviewing it. I'm reviewing that and putting
Well,
it
I'll
on
be
YouTube.
streaming, so I'll be on the stream watching the trailer. Hell
be
yeah,
good.
because all they've given us is the one little kind of like teaser
snippet.
trailer, right? So
Yeah. I feel like Jared Leto is perfect for this part because he does so many out there kind of things as far as roles go. He's
Yes.
really good.
yeah, he's a really good actor, and I personally feel like if we're gonna talk about him real quick, in Suicide Squad, I feel like they let him down.
Yeah, he didn't get enough time.
I feel like he would have been a really great like gangster Joker.
Yeah.
From the very little I saw, it was like, I'm into it. I see where they're going with this. I want to know more. But the story isn't about Joker. It's about the Suicide Squad. And so I feel like they should give him his own.
Yeah. You know what? I do have to say, nothing beats Joaquin Phoenix's version of the Joker. But, you know.
Girl. Yes. I
Like,
fucking love that movie. I've seen it maybe 13 times, probably more.
I can't, like, watch it again because emotionally, that was the first time a movie put me through the ringer. Like, that, like, you hear...
That's fair.
You see, like, in the interview, whenever he's on the show, he's discussing real shit there of where, like, he's talking about mentally unstable people and how society doesn't notice them. They walk all over them. And it's like, I actually, like, when I saw that bit, I was like, they see us. They actually see people who have mental disabilities, who actually, like, are
it's such a
being
great,
visible.
It's actually so funny. It's so funny that, like, this really, really unreliable narrator, you know, because the Joker is crazy, that, like, what a compelling story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But hold on. Okay. Then there's also Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Have you seen that?
Never. Is it really good?
Ariel.
I didn't know if I should watch it or not because, you know, Abraham Lincoln.
Ariel. It is delightful.
Really?
That's what I'll say. It's delightful. It is it's so fun. And the concept of Abraham Lincoln being a vampire hunter is...
That's what got me off guard. I'm just like, oh, guys, this is going to be terrible.
No, I promise you, you will love it. It's such a great time. It's such a great time. Let's see.
That's what my ex-boyfriend said. And look what happened.
Why are you drinking? What'd you say?
You said it's a good time. You said it's a good time, and I was like, that's what my ex-boyfriend said, and look what happened.
Oh, no! Stop it! Stop it!
Are you
okay, hold on. It's too early to start drinking. What's making you need to drink?
What?
I wasn't expecting it to be good, but it's slappy. Oh yeah, no, Vampire Hunter is fucking great. But why are you drinking? Or why are you saying it's too early to drink?
I'm drinking coffee.
Taste hour. Don't, sir. We're finna fight because you.
No.
Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter is a fucking delight. Okay.
I haven't seen it. I'm standing with my sister over here. I haven't seen it, but I'll stand with you.
Yes, thank you. No, but go see it. It's really good fun.
So before we close off our podcast, because we're almost on 2 hours right now, you guys, this has been so much fun. This has been so much fun to get to sit down and do this. Next stream is going to be on Saturday, preferably in the morning around the same time that we did today, and it's going to be about Bloodborne. It's going to be about the game. It's going to be about the graphic novel. It's going to be about the TTRPG, which, by the way, we're going to discuss it going full depth with this bad boy. We're going to be showcasing it. I'm going to show you guys the rules, how to play it, and you know what I'm even thinking of doing, and I'll say this right now, I'm even thinking of getting Chastity the TTRPG. That way we can both stream it and play together. So I'm really thinking of doing that.
Yes.
So I'm really excited for that.
Fun.
And just as a little bit of a thing, just to show beforehand, look at these boards for when you're playing the game. Like, come on.
Yes. It
Look
looks
at
like
that.
the video game. Like how the menus, various menus look.
A little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. And the thing is that with Bloodborne, there's going to be talk of the lore. There's going to be talk of the game. So strap yourselves in, honey. Okay, we're about to go into it.
I'm gonna fucking get into that lore because that's my thing. That's what
I have so much to send you. But yeah, just to let you guys know, the review for Bloodborne is going to be coming out on Wednesday, and that's going to be at 2 p.m. EST. That review is not going to be covering the DLC because I've yet to go into the DLC. I still have to level up. The playthrough of The Last of Us Part 1 starts next week. So, for this entire week, we're going to be doing some casual nerd. We're going to be going into some Psyche gaming, and who knows, there might be an episode actually every day of this week. So, just to let you guys know.
Okay. I am so sorry. Hold on.
Yeah.
I have to mute myself. Hello?
Can't wait. Oh, that's exciting. That's exciting.
Not
But
loading.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting because like every time that we're going to go into review, it's going to be amped up more and more. So this review, like I said, it's not going to cover the DLC, but it's going to cover the base game, and it's going to cover every like some little psychological bits and everything like that I find interesting. So I'll wait for Chastity to get back on, that way we can finish up the conversation really quickly. So give me 1 second.
Okay, sorry about that. I
You
don't
okay?
know. I don't know what's going on. But yeah. Chris was trying to call me, but for whatever reason, his thing is not loading. Okay, so I'm going to be very brief, and then I gotta piece out of here because I have to go do something. But guys, you can find me everywhere on the internet as the Risa Rave. All my links, I'm sure, will be in the description.
Yeah.
Keep on the lookout for my Patreon project that I'm doing. I'm going to be posting updates and eventually a launch date on Twitter.
Yes.
I will see you guys around. Thank you for hanging
Yeah.
out with us and, chatting about vampires.
And we will talk to you guys soon. I'll keep you guys posted as what's going to be happening and the stream time and all that kind of stuff. And we will see you guys in a little bit. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. I really appreciate you guys. Bye.